It's because when all nature comes back to us, it's when trees bloom again. It's when all
But why is that rebirth?
because a new thing is forming up.
Right. Right, but what happened before spring? Winter. What happens during winter?
Well,
Adam?
everything goes away in winter. Like all the leaves fall.
Right, leaves fall during fall, right?
And then they come back in
So
spring.
they come back, right? So spring is a great time to symbolize rebirth. And it also happens that Easter falls along another holiday, not necessarily the Christian tradition, but in the Judeo tradition of what? Passover.
Good.
Right? So now, for those of you that go to Sunday school, right? I mean, or that have gone to Sunday school, right? So what is Jesus referred to as from a Passover perspective? So do you guys remember what Passover was? Do you know what the story of the Ten Commandments and Passover? Do you know what that story was about? Why is it called Passover? Do you guys remember that? Does anybody remember why it's called Passover?
Come on, guys. You all went to Sunday school.
I think
Something to do with Moses, but go ahead.
The Passover Egypt.
Kind of. It had to do with Egypt.
Oh, it's when God gave them food.
Not really.
Where he was.
Go ahead, Noah.
When God gave the commandments to Moses.
No.
Nope.
Close, but you guys are on the
Let Adam say. Adam has it.
when the angel of death came over the people's houses,
And what happened?
they spread the lamb of
The blood of the lamb. And what did the angel of death do?
If the blood
It passed over the houses with the blood of the lamb, right? That's why it's called Passover from that sense, right? And yes. So Passover is a time when death passed over the houses of the Israelites and did not visit them, right? It was a symbolic Passover. There's all potentially a historical reference to it as well. But so Easter kind of falls along the lines because what happened on Holy Thursday? We know about Good Friday. What happened on Holy Thursday?
The Last Supper.
The Last Supper. So during that supper, you have Jesus is celebrating what? A Passover meal, right? Not as it's supposed to be a Passover meal that he's celebrating, according to the stories. So you have a couple of things here happening here, right? So you have a Passover event. You have Holy Friday where Jesus is crucified. Then of course you have Easter where what happens? What happens on Easter? He's resurrected. So let's talk about that. So the issue here is, right? So you have someone who died, right? Do people that normally died come back to life? You usually don't, right? I mean, we put them in the ground, and unless they're a zombie or something, right? Which they're not, right? So the whole point here is that something amazing happened according to the people that believed, right? So who were the first people that actually saw the resurrection? Hold on, I want somebody else to answer. Go ahead. Austin, sorry. I'm sorry? Right, Mary Magdalene, and who else? His mother, right. So why is that important? Why, why were they the first ones to see?
Jesus wanted them to spread the news to the disciples.
Jesus wanted them to spread the news?
Or the angel wanted them to spread the news.
Right, but that's not the question I asked you. How did they end up being the first ones to see the resurrection?
They were going to put spices on the tomb or something like
Not on the tomb, but on the body,
On the
right?
body.
But now, what about the apostles and the disciples? Why didn't they do this? Hold on, I heard somebody say the answer.
they were
Yeah.
scared.
They were scared. What were they scared of?
I'm not scared.
They're scared. You usually are. But what were they scared of?
Jesus was killed.
Jesus was killed, right? So
Like everybody's after him.
that everybody's after him, right? And what happened right before Jesus died, right? What happened? One of his most important followers did what?
Oh, Peter denied
Hold on.
Peter denied him because Jesus said, "Deny me 3 times."
Right, so he denied him 3 times, right? And this is Peter was supposed to be one of his biggest followers, right? Most important followers, one of the leaders of the group, right?
Pillar of faith.
Right, he's a pillar of faith. So, but what do these stories tell us, right? These stories tell us a couple of things. One, that at the end, that all of Jesus' followers were what? Human, right? So they were prone to failings. They were prone to making mistakes. Now, do you guys know what prone means? Right? I don't want to use a word that no one here doesn't understand. Prone means that you're likely to do something, right? Right? So sometimes we lie. Sometimes we don't do what we're told to do, right?
Not our kids.
Nobody here.
No.
Nobody here. But I'm just saying, maybe other people. And so on that day of Easter, where were all the disciples, and where were they? Hiding. They were hiding because they were afraid other people would see them, capture them, bring them before the Romans, and then what? Do what to them? Crucify them. Right. So they didn't want to be seen. So who were the bravest people in the group of followers? The women, right? Right? So both Marys were unafraid, right? They went over there and they wanted to kind of do the ritual cleaning after someone had died in the Jewish tradition, and lo and behold, they were the first ones to experience, right? So what happens, right? So they see this angelic figure in the tomb. The rock is moved away. They see this angelic figure in the tomb. The linens are folded, and they're told to do what? Do you guys remember the story? Adam?
Tell the disciples.
So they run back, right? They don't even walk back. They run back, right? And what do the disciples say? Are they happy? Are they glad? What do they say? What was their reaction? Surprise would have been a nice thing, but what was their reaction?
They thought someone stole the body.
They thought somebody stole the body, but even more importantly, they thought the women were crazy. Why? Hold on, Brian.
Because they never experienced someone actually coming back from the dead.
But that's not true. That's not true. That's right. There's a story of Lazarus.
That's right. Good.
Very good. Right? So they did experience, according to the story, somebody coming back from death.
Oh,
Right.
I think they were, because they thought that Jesus should have told them and not Mary Magdalene. And
Right, so there was that feeling too, right? Because they were the followers, right? They were the apostles. They were the chosen 12. And even though one of them had betrayed them, right? Why were we not told, right? So they were upset at Mary, both the Marys, not because Jesus told them to go tell them, but because he didn't do what?
tell them.
Right. So, but, and that's a very important lesson, right? Of what was the prime? So, okay, before I go into the big lesson of Easter, right? There are a lot of lessons of Easter. What were the 2 important commandments that Jesus lived and taught? Hold on. What were the 2 important lessons that Jesus lived and taught? I want to give somebody else a chance, guys.
He summed them up into 2.
That's right. It's called the Golden Rule, for those of you that don't remember. Hold on.
Love your neighbor as you love yourself.
That's one, right? Hold on.
Wait, I think Priyanka knows the other one.
And then
I heard her murmuring.
And then love the
Right, exactly. So Jesus is okay. So let's go back a little bit in time. At that time, you have the Romans who were capturing all these lands, and the Jews lived under Roman rule, right? You have a lot of Jews who were fighting the Romans through violence, right? And a lot of them were being killed. And so Jesus said, you know what? That's not what I'm going to do, right? And he didn't say that, but his actions were that, right? Where, turn the other cheek, right? Live a peaceful life, help your neighbor, right? Do the things that you're supposed to do to help each other live a better life, right? So, do not judge, right? That's the other thing that he told you, right? Was not to judge people, because it's not your job to judge people, but it's God's role to judge people. And of course, the whole idea of forgiveness, right? So you have all of his followers who are some of them one of them who has denied him, one of them who has betrayed him. They were scared, sitting in a room by themselves, right? Afraid that they themselves will be killed, right? At the end of the day, right? That's really why they're afraid, because they're going to get caught and they're going to get killed, and that's a powerful motivation not to go out and be recognized. Because if you're captured, you can end up on that cross yourself. And that's not a simple death. That could be a long, agonizing death. And they didn't want to experience this at all. So Jesus appears before these two women. They go tell them, and then what happens? Is that the end of the story? Does anybody remember the rest of the story? No?
He didn't tell you that part?
After the
He appears to them.
He appears to them, right? Right. He appears to them, and they are surprised, right? So,
And they still don't believe.
and they still don't believe, right? And we know the story of Thomas, right, who wasn't there, and then he comes back, and he has to physically actually touch Jesus to make sure that he really is there. But the whole idea of Easter is rebirth, right? Is the idea of coming back to life, right? So here, and I want to use the idea of rebirth of people that were afraid, right? So while Jesus was alive, they weren't afraid. He was with them. I'm sure they were afraid, but in the beginning. But as his ministry grew, they were very strong in their faith. But he was there, and then all of a sudden, he was taken from them. He was, he was tortured, and then he was hung up on a cross. So here they are, very afraid. They themselves had died, right? So like winter, that came and takes away all the green and all the trees and all the leaves, they themselves had died inside, right? And so they had no hope left. They had no faith left that they themselves were going to find a way out of this madness, right? Their leader had been taken away from them. Everything they held dear had been taken away from them. And then these two women come and say, you know what? Don't be afraid. We've seen him, right? The angel has told us he's resurrected. They can't believe it still. So finally they do see him. And then as a group they're made whole. They come back to life. So